They were never able to catch up. That's their biggest mistake. Even though they did their best to slow crypto down, they couldn't stop it, but they slowed it down so they could try to catch up. The legacy system, I mean, they just couldn't do it. And here's the problem. You know, there's a difference between someone who can practice something for a long time and master it and someone who does a rush job. I can tell when I see a rush job. And because they had to rush, they just don't have everything they need without the new financial system. IMF is a perfect example of they have an idea that they stole, but they can't implement it without the new financial system. There's an article here. All right. Well, first of all, we have some XRP news today. We have some Bitcoin news. We have some Stellar XLM news today. All right. I'm always happy to see someone write an article about Stellar. And we have some silver and gold news as well. So we'll get to that. But also, if you appreciate this content, please take the time, smash that like button. Appreciate that. All right. So now, this article here is titled Central Bank Digital Currencies Can Promote Financial Inclusion, IMF. Now, this is a LinkedIn article that is about what the IMF has been speaking on. All right. But let's scroll down here. I want to point something out. Always keep this in mind. I think this is one of the catalysts that is going to be massive once we get past the SEC case when it comes to any of the bank coins, whichever ones will be utilized. This could be massive. Let me read this a little bit here and then I'll jump into it. OK, it says here a blog by IMF staffers has underlined the potential of CBDCs to promote financial inclusion and improve the efficiency of cross-border payments. But wait 1 minute. You got to put a lot of things together. But we're just going to put a few. There was an article that came out a while ago, and the IMF told on themselves in it. Do you remember that article? What did they say that was so potent, that was so explosive? When you read this, it puts everything into perspective. What they said was, and somewhere on the screen, I should have posted it already somewhere on the screen for you to read. What they said was that, sure, CBDCs are great. You know, when we're just dealing with, banks that are in a network. I'm paraphrasing, of course. But what they said was for transnational payments. CBDCs are not ready. They're not good enough. They just can't do it. Not transnational payments, not global. But why did they say that? I'm paraphrasing, but look, go read the article yourself. But why did they say that? Because there isn't a global central bank. But what does that mean? No global central bank means what? That means there is no one party that has absolute global reach. Wait a minute. Not within the legacy system, but outside of the legacy system. You have companies like Ripple with XRP, and that's why I've been talking about global reach. Global reach. So now, with keeping that in mind, you have the IMF who directly referenced Ripple and XRP multiple times over the last few years. So is it safe to say they're a supporter of Ripple and XRP? They work with Ripple on a multitude of things over the years. So you have the IMF that I would say is a supporter of Ripple and XRP, which would theoretically mean they could give them a push once everything is ready to go. One, the BIS. Ripple and XRP have a great relationship with the Bank for International Settlements. We know that. That's two. CBDC platform in Hong Kong, multiple other projects. And aren't they on like a task force for the BIS? That's two. That's two. In the United States, do we have to even go there? Do we have to even discuss that? We have tremendously good relationships in the United States. Federal Payments Task Force, Faster Payments Task Force, two different task force. That's not including all the different projects and papers that we've done for, I say we, but they've done that have aided the so-called government in their research. That's three. We have all the connections between the West and the East. So now using that reasoning, right? We have the support of all the major banks. We have true global reach, which one of their recent partnerships, I think it was with, what was that company called? Clear something. But one of their new partnerships also extends global reach through a legacy system entity, just in case we didn't have it, which we already do. So we have the certainty that global reach is nothing for us. We have all the advantages. We're cheaper, we're faster. Now, at the time in the future when they're ready to roll out all of these systems, there's regulatory clarity, which we're rapidly achieving. I mean, how explosive do you think that is? All that information together. There's literally, after this case is over, I mean, what's stopping a massive run? I'm just asking a question. You tell me. There's literally everything's lining up in XRP's favor. Just my humble opinion. Just my humble opinion, not financial advice. And you even have, I've seen something interesting also this last few weeks. People that are normally not so bullish on XRP. And you know what? I could extend that to this year. As a matter of fact, because in the beginning of the year, people and entities not so bullish on XRP suddenly start talking very bullish on XRP. Why? In the last week or so, once again, I've been reading a lot of bullish articles on XRP. Why? Why now? And that's interesting, isn't it? Considering most of retail is rather pessimistic when it comes to the bank coins, which is interesting to me when you're looking long term and you say to yourself, wait a minute, the bank coins haven't even begun or had the opportunity to do what they're designed to do, especially in the West. They were designed primarily to move that massive value in the West, but they just haven't been able to do it because of all these court cases. That's just a fact. So what happens when that barrier is removed? That's the question. And that's whether it goes for XRP or XLM or Algorand. It doesn't make a difference. Nobody has been able to play in the biggest money, the biggest money area, which is the United States right now. And they've been building steadily. But once again, we've learned from, I forget which central bank put that document out that we read, that if you want systems to run successfully, you have to have the majority of the banks that you want to utilize your system ready to go all at once. Hence, I believe that's how they came up with the phrase flip of the switch. Everything must go all at once. It must go off all at once, for lack of a better word. My apologies. But then it continues here, central bank digital currencies. Oh, then they explain a little bit about that. They go into a lot of the different regions, which we're deep in all of them. We're deep in the Middle East. We're deep in Central Asia. We're deep in South Asia. I mean, listen, where do we not have reach? So if they don't have the connector piece, where does it come from? If the IMF itself, and you know the BIS has already said this, if they don't have global reach, if they don't have interoperability, and the BIS came out with a document a few weeks ago talking about how there's a lack of interoperability. We read that. If that is the case, where do they get the connector piece? If they're all saying we want to roll out these CBDCs in the next, they're saying 2 years. You know, I don't know if they can actually pull that off. We'll see. I hope that they do. So we can take some of that money from them. But if they don't have that connector piece as of now, and yet they want to deploy, what other option do they have but to utilize the new financial system? I just don't see it. I mean, listen, maybe some other information will come up and it'll change my mind. But as of right now, that's how it looks. They're saying it themselves. So now let's move on here. We have another article here. This article is titled, and this was interesting, The Motley Fool. The Motley Fool has a pretty bullish prediction for XRP. And just from my memory, I haven't read a full article in quite some time. The last few Motley Fool articles I read were about the M2 money supply. They jumped on that a little bit late, but they've been covering it pretty good. But I don't remember them being too bullish on XRP. Maybe that was fortune.com. Maybe they were the non-bullish ones. I'm not sure. But this article is titled, Ripple XRP will hit $1 by 2025. Now, I want to just see what they're saying are going to be the catalyst Okay, so they have some bullet points here. The first one is overall market sentiment. The broader cryptocurrency market is experiencing fluctuations. Ripple is not immune to these trends that we know, although some people seem like they're in denial of that. They just focus in on what XRP is doing. They're not looking at the overall market, that everything is down at the same time. It says Ripple isn't a perfect proxy for Bitcoin chart, but game-changing news affecting Bitcoin and major cryptocurrencies can influence XRP's prices. Yeah, that's pretty good. Pretty accurate. This is the regulatory landscape. Then they go into that. This actually sounds very similar to another article we covered in, I believe it was either yesterday's video or the day before that. So all of these big entities are sort of coming into alignment with what they're saying about XRP. And it all sounds pretty bullish as of late. But anyway, it's that I know some people, they don't like the whole $1. The $1 that's good. It depends on how much XRP you have, I would suppose. I don't know what people have, but is it better than what the price is today? Yes. Yeah, you know, I'm not a pessimistic individual. I like the positives. I like to stay on the positive side. So any increase is positive for me, and then we build from there. We keep building, keep a positive mind state, let the things happen, let the catalyst play out, and then you keep building from there. I'm a builder. I'm a creator. I'm not a destroyer. And I don't live in a world of doom and gloom either. That's just not my way. To each his own. It says here, next bullet point, adoption and partnerships. Ripple continues to form partnerships with financial institutions. Yeah, this definitely sounds a lot like the article. I can't remember who it was that was saying that. But this sounds very similar. But I mean, you can't escape these facts. The financial institution partnerships, which I've seen a lot of people write off. Oh, it doesn't mean anything. How? They bring the big money. They bring the big utility right now. They can pop everything off right now. They've done the research. They know what they want to do with it. They can build massive amount of projects if they want. Ripple has good relationships with them, as opposed to, let's say, retail, which retail is moving back and forth, depending on who moves their emotions this way or that way. That's not consistent enough for an explosion, you know. Based off of retail activity, in my humble opinion, not a sustained explosion, no. But the financial institutions, the banks, the insurance companies, the big companies for B2B payments, now that is something. And Ripple brings that to the table. Volante Tech brings that to the table. SBI brings that to the table. Countless companies. Bank of America brings that to the table. Santander. Do we have to keep going? It says here, notably, some small nations are considering Ripple as the basis for their own digital currencies. Yes, and then we had that with Thailand recently. We'll see how that actually plays out. But that's what they said. They're one of many. They're one of them. All right. So, but here, Motley Fool is predicting $1 that XRP will reach $1. Did they say during 2025? Oh, it says by 2025. All right. And then, yeah, also, they didn't include it here, but if the end of that lawsuit comes, boom, in my humble opinion. All right, so now let's go here. We have another article here, and this article is titled Ripple News. Zaman Wallet now lets you buy XRP with XAH and XAH with fiat currency. All right, now I didn't hear about this, so this is news to me. It says XRP has made a crucial achievement in its global reach. XRPL Labs, the latest partnership with on-ramp solution provider C14, is the one which enabled it to make this remarkable achievement. Are you curious to know the wider implications of this development for the cryptocurrency market? Please read on. That's kind of weird to put in there. That sounds so robotic. But it says seamless integration as a result of the partnership. XRPL-based Zaman Wallet now integrates with C14. This integration allows users to purchase crypto assets on the Zahao blockchain directly within the wallet. Notably, users from countries like the US and Canada can now buy XRP and Zahao's network tokens XAH using various fiat currencies. This highlights the partnership's contribution to XRP's global reach. So that's really good. Very positive. I'm very happy anytime I see some of these developments roll out. So now we're going to move on here because I have a lot of articles for you today. Like I said before, if you like this content, you appreciate this content, you're taking time to watch, please smash that like button. Every video, just please click that like button. It's significant. I wish YouTube would change it. I wish they would. But then if they took away the like button, people would start to complain about that. There's no like button. But because they have it, it impacts the viewership of the video, right? So you put in all this hard work and the algorithm says, hey, if you don't get that, this is what the algorithm does. If you don't get those likes, it kills your video. So you just did all that work, all that research, almost for nothing. It was just, that's just how it is. So YouTube subjects us to the like button. Simple as that. It's not like other platforms. So anyway, please, if you can, every video, just automatically come in the building, click that like button if you like the content. I mean, if you don't, what can I do? I'm not going to ask somebody to click the like button if they don't like the content. Anyway, so it says here, this article is titled Saudi Arabia Banks Hit Record-Breaking Profits. And who got the green light in Saudi Arabia? XRP, Ripple. We're deep in Saudi Arabia. So, I mean, this could be significant. Of course, who does Ripple work with the most? What does XRP function for the best? It's banks. Prospective BRICS member Saudi Arabia has hit a new milestone in its banking sector, with Saudi National Bank reporting a 14-month high in profits. Reports that in May, the total earnings of Saudi banks hit a record-breaking 14-month high of $1.96 billion. Cumulatively, from the beginning of the year to the end of May, banks recorded a total profit of SR 34.78 billion, according to Arab News. So that is major. And if you pay attention, all of these regions that the bank coins are deep in are doing very, very well. As far as bringing in profits or just sustaining themselves through what is really a global depression. You want to be real, it is that 100%. And I've been saving a lot of videos just in case I ever have to prove what I'm saying. I've been saving a lot of articles and a lot of videos on the jobs market and what's going on with the banks. Has been very interesting, and we're getting word from the people themselves. You saw what was going on in China, right, with the banks just collapsing left and right, and that's what happens when they congeal or when they're absorbed, they're vanishing, quote unquote. They're having a banking crisis in China right now, but it's no different than what the U.S. is facing when you have 300 to 400 banks that could collapse at any minute. So just when I thought Germany was done, they're not done. They're going to continue dumping. They dumped some more Bitcoin. This article is titled Bitcoin Drops as German Government Unloads Over $900 million Worth of Bitcoin. Wow. So at some point it has to stop, right? They moved a total of roughly 16,309 Bitcoin, but it says that they're halfway through their selling spree. It says their holdings are now reduced to 23,788 Bitcoin, worth $1.3 billion. This is down from 50,000 Bitcoin since it started unloading tokens last month. And this has been one of the major things contributing to the drop in Bitcoin and the lower price of Bitcoin. There's a lot of these massive entities that are selling massively, a great deal of Bitcoin all at one time. And of course, that drags the rest of the market down. But when it's over, I expect things to continue because all the positive catalysts remain there. So now we're going to move on to this next article here. We have some Solana news. All right. So now this article is titled Solana DEX Radium Flips Uniswap in Weekly Fees. All right. It says here, Radium, the leading decentralized exchange on Solana, narrowly flipped Uniswap in weekly fees and processed over 10 times as many transactions as Ethereum's largest DEX. Over the last week, Radium fees surpassed Uniswap's by 15% as the DEX collected $12.86 million. In the same time period, Radium processed over 57 million transactions compared to Uniswap V2 and V3's collective 4.47 million, according to DApp Radar. Despite the massive discrepancy in transaction count, Uniswap's total volume remains higher than Radium's. Uniswap's weekly volume accounted for nearly $12 billion. Meanwhile, Radium's was less than 50% of that, at $5.39 billion per DeFi Llama. The stark difference in volume to transaction count ratio between Uniswap and Radium is indicative of the large amount of low-value spam transactions taking place on the Solana-based DEX. All right, so now let's see. We're getting close to the silver news here. This here, I'm just going to touch on this very, very lightly because it's very, I I think it's very good. It's always very interesting when I see some of these mainstream websites write about Stellar and their smart contracts. They need more of this. I'm telling you, you have to get that word out to the people. You can't just sit on Twitter and post tweets and hope that that's going to do it. It's not. And I don't think companies respect it either. I think they want you to take the traditional route, reach out to the masses, let the masses know. And that means you got to reach out to mainstream media. You have to let them know what's going on. Make some contacts. Get the word out. But anyway, this article is titled Stellar Network Brings DeFi to the Unbanked with Smart Contract Platform. Now, this is going to be significant in my humble opinion. Once you get a little bit of regulatory clarity, I think that could come, a lot of that could come with the ending of the SEC case versus Ripple, since XLM and Stellar's use cases are very similar to Ripple and XRP's use cases. And then they could run wild in the United States. But once again, you would need a big push for that. You would need heavy advertising for that. Let the people know what you have, where they can get these decentralized wallets, what they are. How easy they can use them. And then, the battle can begin, and you would need to have that technology integrated with a lot of different companies, which is definitely doable. Then you could take over a lot of these predatory institutions that have set up in cities across the United States for the so-called underbanked, and there's a lot of unbanked also, but there's a lot of underbanked in the United States. I mean, if you really want to make an impact, that's where the bulk of your success, I think, will come from. And then from that capital that you earn off of that activity, you could filter that out into everything else you want to do to all the other different regions. That's typically how it goes. Things come from the top and then sprinkle on down the pyramid. I hate to say it like that, but that's what a lot of these companies do. You have to have capital to work with, and you just can't just continue to push forward with only the capital that you get from liquidating XLM. It's just not enough. You need to be bringing something in majorly, and I think that could come from United States activities, but there has to be a push there. But it says here, launched earlier this year, Soroban contract platform is aiming to make decentralized finance accessible across the world. I haven't heard too many updates on how much activity is going on with Soroban, but once again, I think you really need to make a big push to bring in the developers and companies that want to build on it and get mainstream media involved, sort of like what Solana does. Solana has done very well getting mainstream attention. You look at all the big companies that are backing them, talking about their smart contracts. Some people are even saying Solana could rival Ethereum, or does rival Ethereum. You want to be in that conversation when it comes to smart contracts. Now, Stellar had the right idea when they were talking about, I forgot, there were some articles saying how they wanted Soroban to rival Ethereum. Okay, now listen, Ethereum does its own thing. I don't really like comparison, but if you need to use that in order to boost yourself or to put yourself into the conversation, sure, okay, use that then. Sometimes you got to do what's best for business sometimes. But I like to see articles like this written. So I just wanted to put a highlight on that. All right. So now we're going to move on here. So I want to get through the silver and gold news. I haven't done some silver news in a while. I know I have a lot of silver enthusiasts on the channel. OK, this article is titled Silver Price Forecast XAG/USD appreciates to near $31 ahead of Powell's testimony. Let's scroll down here, find out what's going on. Silver price recovers its recent losses, trading around $31 per troy ounce during the European session on Tuesday. Traders await Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell's testimony on, quote, the semi-annual monetary policy report, unquote, to the U.S. Congress on Tuesday. I'm pretty sure that probably already happened today. Powell could, I'll catch some of the highlights later. I don't have enough time to watch all of that stuff. I just don't. Powell could provide a broad overview of the economy and monetary policy with his prepared remarks being published ahead of his appearance on Capitol Hill. On Friday, weaker employment data from the United States sparked speculation that the Federal Reserve might consider reducing interest rates in September. This continues providing support for non-yielding assets like silver. The CME's Fed Watch tool indicates that the rate market's price in a 76.2% probability of a rate cut in September, up from 65.5% just a week earlier. Furthermore, inflation figures from the United States are set to be released on Thursday. The U.S. core CPI is expected to maintain its year-over-year rate at 3.4% in June, with monthly core CPI likely remaining steady at 0.2%. The safe haven, silver, could face challenges as market participants await progress in certain geopolitical activities. All right. A potential ceasefire agreement in a certain region could alleviate risk sentiment and support the riskier assets. All right. So silver was looking good. I believe in the future, in the long term, I believe silver is even more bullish. So now let's end off here. We'll end today with a little bit of gold news, right? So this article is titled "Gold Price Jumps Ahead of Fed Powell's Testimony." The gold price gains momentum amid the weaker U.S. dollar during the early European session on Tuesday. The downside for the precious metal might be limited as traders raise their bets that the U.S. Federal Reserve would cut interest rates in September following soft U.S. unemployment data last week. Additionally, the cautious mood amid the political uncertainties in France, geopolitical tensions in the Middle East might boost the gold price, a traditional safe haven asset. Nonetheless, gold prices might be dragged lower by the People Bank of China's decision not to buy gold for a second straight month. We covered that the other day. They said later on they'll come back and buy some more. We'll see if they keep their word. So that's nothing to worry about. Then you had India buying record amounts of gold. A lot of other central banks buying record amounts of gold, which is why the price continues to be propped up. And I think they'll go a little bit higher in the future. Just my humble opinion. So now that you have that information, what are you going to do with it? I know what I'm going to do with it. So until next time, everybody, let's get to the money.